Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be taking a really fascinating look at the whole concept of economic development today. We're drawing directly from our course source materials to really unpack what that word, progress, actually means. I mean, it's a topic that affects literally every single one of us, but as we're about to see, it is definitely not as straightforward as it might seem on the surface.
So, development. It's a word we hear all the time, right? On the news, from politicians, buried in textbooks. But I want you to take a second and step back and really think about this foundational question. What does development actually mean? Does progress look the exact same to everyone, or is it actually a totally subjective experience?
Well, to answer that, here's our roadmap for today. Number 1, defining personal development goals. 2, comparing nations and the income trap. 3, measuring real human well-being. And 4, sustaining our shared future.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, defining personal development goals. So, people have wildly different ideas of what development is, and it's totally based on their own everyday situations. Take a landless rural laborer, for example. For them, development probably means getting more days of work and better wages just to be able to feed their family. But then you look at a rich farmer living in that exact same village. Their definition of development is completely different. They're looking for higher prices for their crops. They both want progress for sure, but their actual aspirations couldn't be more different from one another.
And sometimes, actually a lot of the time, these goals don't just differ, they completely clash. There's a pretty harsh reality here. What looks like development for one person might actually be totally destructive for somebody else. Like, think about building a massive dam. That might be absolutely fantastic for local industries, right? Because it gives them the essential electricity and water they need. But that exact same project, it can destructively force tribal families to leave their ancestral lands. They lose their homes, their entire way of life. So one group's major gain literally becomes another group's devastating loss.
Which brings us to Section 2, comparing nations and the income trap.
Okay, so when we zoom out and look at the global stage, massive institutions like the World Bank generally rely on one primary metric to decide if a country is developed or underdeveloped, and that metric is per capita income. Basically, you just take the total income of a country and divide it by its total population. It's the average income. And honestly, it sounds super straightforward, right?
But while this metric has a huge, profound limitation, let's look at two fictional nations here, Country A and Country B. If you do the math, both of these countries have the exact same average income of 700. So if we're just looking at the averages, we probably think, oh, their progress is identical. But look a little closer at the actual citizens. Country A has a pretty equitable distribution across the board. Country B, though, that is an entirely different economic reality.
Because in Country B, most of the citizens are barely scraping by at 400 or 500, while one citizen is extremely wealthy, pulling in 1,300. This is a perfect illustration of how average income just completely masks how money is actually distributed. It hides these crazy situations where extreme poverty exists right next door to extreme wealth, and it paints this totally false picture of equality.
Which leads us to a really vital question, I think. Is looking at average income actually enough to measure true well-being? Does looking at just the money in the national bank account truly capture a nation's standard of living? Or are we, missing the human element entirely here?
Let's dive into Section 3, measuring real human well-being.
So, to get a real accurate picture of a society, we really need to look beyond the wallet and start looking into the hospital. Let's talk about the infant mortality rate, or IMR. This is the number of children dying under 1 year of age per 1,000 live births in a given year. And it's just a critical, absolutely essential indicator of a nation's actual healthcare reality and their public safety. Next up, we add life expectancy at birth to our toolkit for measuring the holistic well-being of a population. Simply put, this is just the average expected length of life of a person at the time they are born. And obviously, a higher number here points directly to better living conditions, better sanitation, and solid medical care over a lifetime. We also track the fundamental nutritional status of individuals in a society, and we use the body mass index, or BMI, for that. You calculate it by dividing weight in kilograms by the square of height in meters, and it helps us categorize nourishment levels across a whole population. That way, we can identify systemic issues, anything ranging from severe malnourishment all the way to obesity.
Now, when you put all of this together, a pretty stark reality emerges. Having a high average income does absolutely not guarantee human development. Without factoring in things like literacy rates and health facilities, just relying on average income is highly, highly misleading. Actually, take the Indian states of Kerala and Haryana as a prime example of this. Haryana actually has a higher per capita income than Kerala, so on paper, they're richer. But Kerala is widely considered far better for living. Why? Because it has an exceptionally low infant mortality rate and excellent public health facilities. Having more money didn't automatically translate to better health outcomes in Haryana, but prioritizing robust facilities, that definitely worked in Kerala. And that right there highlights the absolute necessity of robust public facilities. These are services provided by the government specifically for the community's benefit. They're vital because they offer these essential services that an individual's money alone just can't buy. I mean, you can't pave your own personal highway, right? You can't build your own private hospital grid. Public facilities like health, education, transport, that's how a nation successfully converts its wealth into actual, tangible human well-being.
Moving on to our final part, Section 4, Sustaining Our Shared Future.
I really want to share this incredibly powerful quote from the source material. It says, "We have not inherited the world from our forefathers. We have borrowed it from our children." I love that. It beautifully reframes economic development from being this short-term sprint for cash into a profound, long-term responsibility to future generations.
Because let's be honest, right now, our current development levels are incredibly dangerous. Ever since the second half of the 20th century, scientists have been warning us that we are pushing our natural resources way, way beyond their carrying capacity. Our current path is just straight up not sustainable.
And the specific risks of ignoring sustainability are huge. We are overusing fixed stock, exhaustible resources that literally cannot be replenished. Take groundwater as a glaring example. In so many places around the world, we are extracting groundwater significantly faster than the rain can naturally replenish it. If we keep going down this path, the negative impacts on our global environment are going to be disastrous.
So, what's the solution? Any locality needs a truly comprehensive set of developmental goals. We have to successfully balance economics, health, and the environment. We need quality education and high literacy rates. We need affordable healthcare to lower that infant mortality rate we talked about. We must create jobs and improve workforce skills. And, crucially, we absolutely have to demand environmental sustainability. Things like protecting our water resources and drastically reducing emissions.
So, to bring this all together, true development isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's a complex, multi-layered reality. It is an ongoing, delicate balance between our individual needs, our national wealth, our actual human well-being, and the long-term survival of our environment. You simply cannot have true progress if you ignore any one of these pillars.
I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought based on everything we've uncovered today. Look at your own backyard. Is your community truly pursuing holistic, sustainable developments, or are they just blindly chasing a higher average income? Thank you so much for exploring this vital explainer with me today, and I really encourage you to keep questioning what progress actually means in the world around you. Catch you next time.